guys, welcome back to Bake Me Happy. This week for our Christmas special we are making a candy cane themed cake with a little Christmas wonderland on top. So I started by baking 2 cakes, one red and one white, and I baked them and then let them cool completely and double wrapped them and then froze them overnight. I've now taken them out of the freezer and I've let them defrost for about an hour because we don't want them solid, we just want them firm. The first thing we need to do is level the cakes so that they're an even height. Now my vanilla cake is taller than my, well they're both vanilla, but my white cake is taller than my red cake. So I'm going to carve it to this line because they meet just here, and then I'm going to work on this one afterwards. I have 3 bowls here of 3 different sizes that I'm going to use to carve the cake as templates. You can use cake boards or other round things, but bowls for me are just easier. So I'm going to take my first bowl and try to center it as much as I can onto the cake. And then I'm going to take a short paring knife and cut it into the middle. Alright, so we've made it the whole way around, and then that should be able to be lifted out, but we're not going to lift it out just yet. I'm going to continue with my other 2 sizes, doing exactly the same thing. Now it's really important here that you're getting it on the same angle as you had the first part. And now we're going to cut the final part. Alright, so we're going to do the exact same thing with the vanilla cake, and then I'll show you how to stack them. I've cut the layers into the cake so that they are on an angle, and now I'm just going through with my paring knife and making sure that everything is cut properly and that we can remove it from the inside of the cake because of the crust on the bottom of the cake, you might find it a little bit difficult to lift it out. So I'm just going around and fixing all of that. I have my 2 cakes here, and now basically what we're going to do is swap this ring here and this ring here between the cakes. So I'm going to press out my middle parts and take them out, and then I'm going to go to the inner part and take that as well. And then this rim here, be really gentle because these layers are the most delicate. And you can just swap it straight into the opposite cake. So I'm going to take this one and put it here. And then I'm going to take the white part and put it back in the white outer layer. And then I can put the red in the middle. Now if you're finding for whatever reason that they don't fit, you can either just push them straight down, or you can recarve either this layer or this layer. It is up to you what you think would be better for the cake. Alright, now we have it. So we're going to put these, we're going to wrap them again and put them into the fridge just for a little while so that the cakes can kind of morph back together and make themselves back into one cake. So we're going to freeze that for about a half hour, and I'm going to make some buttercream while we're waiting and get all of the other stuff set up. So I'm just making a batch of my buttercream, but it's a double batch this time so that I have plenty of buttercream to cover the inside and the outside of my cake. So I'm starting by whipping up the butter until it has soft peaks. Now I've kind of melted this in the microwave just so it's a little bit softer, but it was on half power instead of full power. So if you want to use your microwave to make sure your butter is soft, you can use that technique. And then I'm going to add my icing sugar in probably thirds or maybe even quarters because there is a lot. I have 660 grams of sifted icing sugar here. So I'm going to whip that up and then I'll show you what to do once it's finished. I have a white plate here and I've got my cakes that have been in the freezer for a little while. They're not frozen, but they are cool so that they will make it easier for me to put the icing on top of it. So I'm going to get a little bit of my buttercream that I've made. I haven't coloured it at all. But I'm just going to smear that onto the plate just so that our cake doesn't move. And I'm going to put the red layer down first. You don't have to, but this is just what I thought would look best. And then I'm going to spoon some buttercream on the top, and I'm going to smooth that out between the layers. This is also going to help the layers stick together in the inside of the cake, as well as the two that are going to be stacked on top of each other. Alright, and now I'm going to stack the white layer on top of that. Alright, and now we're going to do a crumb coat on top of this cake. Don't be too perfect with it. Just make sure that everything gets covered and you catch all the crumbs, especially because we have this layer exposed. You can flip it if you like, but either way, because it's been separated, you're going to get crumbs on it anyway. I finished with the crumb coat, and now we're going to work on the decorations that are going on top of the cake. So we're going to start with the Christmas trees that we're putting on top of there. So I've got some waffle cones and a tall mug, and I'm going to melt some white chocolate melts in there and make them ready for dipping. We're going to make the trees now. So I've got one of my waffle cones and a quite largely serrated knife. So if you want to use a knife like this, it's going to be a little bit harder, and you're going to have to be very, very gentle, whereas this one's you just have to be very gentle. So I'm going to take the knife and take it to the opening and slowly saw through the cone. Alright, now they're not going to be perfect, and you can go through and fix it up if you need to, but I've got to do them in some different sizes as well, just to make it look a bit more like a forest. So we've cut our trees up, and we've got all sorts of different sizes. I thought that 3 bigger ones would be a little bit better. So we've got the melted white chocolate here. There is a lot less than what we had anticipated, but that's okay. So I'm going to take a tree, or a waffle cone at this stage, and I'm going to dip it into the chocolate. And then I'm going to spoon the rest so that it kind of falls down the edges, because it's not quite deep enough. So I'm just running the chocolate down the sides of the cone to make it look like a tree that's covered in snow. So I'm going to drip all that chocolate down. Now if you're finding that your chocolate is a little bit too thick for what you want to do, you can put a little bit of oil or a little bit of butter in with it, and it will kind of smooth it out and make it a little more runny, so that you can work with it a little easier. So I'm going to go through and fix up all of the holes that I'm not happy with, and then let it drip for a little bit, and then I'm going to stand it up on the baking paper. I'm going to do that to all of the rest of them, and then we'll come back. Alright, we have our cake here, and it's completely crumb coated. You can see how much the red specks of cake have come through. But we can tell that it's completely set, because when I touch it, there are no fingerprints left in the buttercream. So now I'm just going to use the rest of the buttercream to put a kind of more perfect coat on the outside. And it's really important when you're doing the crumb coat that you don't put your offset spatula back into the bowl with your icing, because otherwise you will spread these crumbs through the icing. So I've done that final coat, and I've smoothed it out as much as I could. And now I'm going to take some red and white striped candy canes. You can use cherry flavour, strawberry flavour, mint if you like. I've got an assortment here. And I'm just going to stick them into the side of the cake with their plastic wrap still on. So I'm going to do one here. I'm going to make sure they're facing the same way the entire way around. I've got some toffee apple flavoured M&Ms. If you can find just plain red and green packet of M&Ms where you are, by all means use those. But this was the only packet where we got red, green, and then we've got a little bit of pink, but that doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is take the M&Ms and put a little bit of our leftover chocolate just on the side with the M on it, and then stick it onto the tree. And you're going to have to hold it for a couple of seconds while it starts to set, and then it'll start to set on its own. So I'm going to do that with the red and the green on all of the other trees, and then I'll come back and show you. We've got our cake here, we've got our trees, and to finish it off with the objects, it wouldn't be Christmas without gingerbread, so we've got some German gingerbread biscuits there as well. So I'm going to start with a large tree. And put that right in the center. Alright, and I'm going to put a little one just beside it, and then that little baby one just here. Alright, we're going to put some of these just on. And to finish it off, I've got some fine desiccated coconut. Alright, and I'm going to sprinkle that over the top just to look like snow. Because against all of this white, our buttercream starts to look a little too yellow. We finished the cake and I was so happy with how it turned out. It looks so great, and especially the inside. If you aren't sure about trying a diagonal striped cake, definitely try this method because it's so easy, especially for beginners. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of Bake Me Happy. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and the other video that we uploaded this week. If you want to see more from us, make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and comment what else you'd like to see down below. You can check out my previous video and my next video just beside me, and all of my social media is just here. Bye!